Hi, I'm Marilyn Kaye, and I'm the author of Together for Never. I'm speaking to you right now from my home in Paris, France. It's where I live, but I write in English. And to demonstrate, I would like to read you the first chapter in my latest book. The bell was still ringing in Charlotte's ears as she and her friends made their way toward the school exit. They were surrounded by jubilant classmates, shrieking and cheering. Cries of, "Have a great summer!" filled the air. Eighth graders Charlotte, Kendra, and Ashley were too cool to show excitement publicly like that, but once they were out the door, Ashley declared, "We're free!" Kendra nodded fervently. The last day of school. This has to be the best feeling in the whole world. They both looked back at the building, glaring at it like it was a prison from which they'd all just been released. Charlotte looked back too, but she didn't see a prison. She was leaving a little palace where she'd reigned as queen for 9 months. She had no doubt that she'd regain her position in September. But even so, it wasn't easy to leave behind. In keeping with tradition, she initiated their usual walking through the parking lot game. They called it makeover. She indicated a girl just ahead of them. Lucy Kerr. Haircut, Kendra said. Maybe one of those Brazilian straightening treatments. Those curls are out of control. Charlotte nodded. There were some natural waves in her own shoulder-length blonde hair, but she tamed them every morning with an electric straightener comb. Mascara, Ashley suggested. She has absolutely no eyelashes. She looked around for another worthy target. Brittany Mills. Better shoes, Charlotte said promptly. Those Mary Janes are disgusting. No one over the age of 5 wears those. And she needs a manicure, Kendra added. Have you ever looked at her hands? She bites her nails. They're positively disgusting. Now, how about Lily Holden? Oh, please, Charlotte groaned. I wouldn't know where to begin. She's utterly hopeless. I mean, look at her. They turned to stare at the small, slight girl with one long, dark braid hanging over her shoulder. Her gauze skirt was losing its hem, and half the stitches were missing from the embroidered blouse. In their American history textbook, there was a photo of hippies in the 1960s at a demonstration. Charlotte thought Lily Holden would have fit right in. As usual, the girl was walking alone. She had to know they were all looking at her, but her eyes were glued to the phone in her hand. With her other hand, she was tapping on the screen. Who could she be texting? Ashley wondered. She doesn't have any friends. Charlotte nodded. Even the other nerds think she's too weird. When are you going to camp? The conversation turned to summer plans. Ashley's tennis camp, Kendra's grandparents in the country house with a pool and horses. Is your father taking the cottage at Serendipity? Kendra asked Charlotte. That was what everyone called Serendipity Bay, the beach town just under 3 hours away. Charlotte nodded. We're going next week. What about your mother? Kendra, Ashley murmured. But Charlotte just gave a nonchalant shrug. I'm not sure. I might visit her. Where is she now? Ashley wanted to know. Charlotte didn't have the slightest idea. Paris, she guessed. It was possible. She knew Dahlia was in Europe, at least. Wow, Kendra exclaimed. You're going to Paris? Or maybe Rome. So you'll meet the boyfriend? Kendra, Ashley hissed. This was getting tiresome. Charlotte performed another shrug and changed the subject. Hey, what are you guys wearing tonight? This led to a discussion of the annual end-of-the-school-year party given by a friend, which lasted till they reached the corner, where they separated to go to their respective homes. For Charlotte, separating was a relief in a way, even though Kendra and Ashley were pretty much her best friends. But talking about her mother, carefully choosing the right words, not showing her feelings, it could be exhausting. And it wasn't like she was going to spill her guts, not even with her besties. It was all pretty awful, though, not to mention embarrassing. She'd heard of fathers leaving home, but mothers? Still, it wasn't as much of a shock as it would have been for most girls, Charlotte thought. Dahlia Nettles had behaved strangely before, many times as a matter of fact. When Charlotte was only 7 years old, her mother had taken off for India. to hang out with some guru and meditate for 3 months. And just 2 years ago, she decided she'd missed her chance to be a real actress. She regaled Charlotte with tales of how she'd been this close to being in a movie before she met John Nettles and married him. So she'd gone to California to see if she still had a chance of becoming a movie star. Apparently she didn't, because she came back. But she'd never been away this long before, 8 months. And Charlotte's poor father had finally given up on her. Just a couple of months ago, he told Charlotte they were divorcing. Her mother had met a guy 20 years younger than she was. He was a guitar player in some rock band Charlotte had never even heard of. And she was following him on the band's tour of Europe. Every now and then, Charlotte got an email from Dahlia, mostly about how well the band was doing and how happy she was. She always added that she missed Charlotte. Charlotte doubted this very much. Aunt Molly, her father's sister, came to the rescue, just like she'd done in the past. She worked from her home. She didn't have a husband or kids, so she was available to help out, especially when Charlotte's father was off on one of his many business trips. What kind of mother would do something like this, her Aunt Molly had fumed. My kind of mother, Charlotte replied silently. It was funny in a way. Growing up, Charlotte's friends all thought Dahlia was very cool. She was better looking and better dressed than their mothers. She never fussed about what Charlotte was wearing, and she let Charlotte wear eyeliner and mascara when the other girls could only use lip gloss. And Charlotte's friends actually talked to her more than they talked to their own mothers, because Dahlia didn't treat them like kids. They could tell her their problems about their crushes on boys, stuff like that, and she told them stories about how wild and crazy her life had been before she married. Charlotte was never really convinced that all the stories were true, and sometimes she would be embarrassed by them. But that didn't really matter. Dahlia was fun. Not very motherly, maybe. Ashley used to say she was more like everyone's big sister. And Charlotte missed her. She took comfort in one thing she knew for sure about her mother. Nothing was forever. Dahlia would go full speed ahead with some new interest or project, yoga, art, dance lessons, but nothing lasted too long. She would get tired of this young boyfriend. She could lose interest in this band. She'd think about Charlotte. Maybe she'd think about her husband, too. Okay, they were officially divorced now, but Charlotte had heard of divorced couples getting back together. Dahlia Nettles could still come home. I hope you liked that first chapter, and I hope you'll want to read more. Thank you for listening.